The relationship between the United States and Iran is a story of shifting sands. For decades, their interactions have shaped the Middle East and global politics. Under President Trump, these sands shifted again, this time with Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu as a key partner. Their alliance was built on years of shared skepticism toward Iran and a desire to remake the region's balance of power. Their decisions rippled far beyond Washington, Tehran, and Jerusalem. To understand this alliance, we must look back at the roots of US-Iran tensions. The US-Iran standoff is not just about conflict, it's about alliances, ideology, and the future of a vital region. To understand Trump's choices, we must recall the long and complex history between America and Iran. After World War II, the US supported Iran's monarchy, and a 1953 CIA-backed coup restored the Shah. But in 1979, Iran's Islamic Revolution changed everything. The US Embassy hostage crisis turned the two nations into bitter foes. For decades, mistrust and confrontation defined their relationship. In the 2000s, fears grew over Iran's nuclear program. After years of talks, the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, or JCPOA, was signed. But the deal was controversial, with critics and supporters fiercely divided. This contentious legacy set the stage for dramatic changes when Trump came to power. Donald Trump's approach to Iran broke sharply with the past. He called the JCPOA the worst deal ever. In 2018, he withdrew the US from the agreement and reimposed tough sanctions. Trump argued that only maximum pressure could stop Iran's malign activities, like supporting militias and missile development. His administration's goal was clear: force Iran back to the table for a better deal. Trump's team, especially Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and National Security Advisor John Bolton, believed that economic pain would weaken Iran's leadership. They wanted not just nuclear concessions, but also changes in Iran's regional behavior. Critics, however, feared this hard line would increase tensions and risk war. The Trump administration also took unprecedented steps. In January 2020, a US drone strike killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. This was a major escalation, and Iran responded with missile attacks on US bases in Iraq. The world watched, fearing the outbreak of full-scale war. Trump's policies polarized opinion at home and abroad. Some praised his willingness to confront Iran, others worried about the consequences. He insisted that pressure would bring peace, but the immediate result was more instability. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu played a crucial role in shaping America's Iran policy. He long believed that Iran was Israel's most dangerous enemy. Netanyahu was one of the most vocal critics of the 2015 JCPOA. He argued that the deal allowed Iran to keep its nuclear program and did little to stop its aggression. Netanyahu's influence grew during Trump's presidency. The two leaders shared a deep distrust of Iran and a desire to rewrite the rules of engagement. Netanyahu addressed the US Congress in 2015 to argue against the nuclear deal, and his close ties with Trump gave him an open channel to influence decisions. He pushed hard for the US withdrawal from the JCPOA. Israeli intelligence also played a part, with high-profile revelations about Iran's nuclear archives. Netanyahu used public speeches, media, and private diplomacy to make his case. Some saw him as a master tactician, others as a risk-taker willing to gamble with the region's stability. The Trump-Netanyahu partnership changed the dynamics of US policy. Israel's security concerns became central to American thinking. This alliance emboldened both leaders, but it also drew criticism. Many warned that it reduced space for compromise and made peaceful solutions harder to find. The Trump years saw dramatic confrontations between the US and Iran. After leaving the JCPOA, the US ramped up economic pressure. Iran's economy suffered, but its leaders refused to give in. Instead, Iran began to roll back its nuclear commitments, enriching more uranium than allowed by the deal. There were a series of dangerous incidents. Oil tankers were attacked in the Gulf, and Iran shot down a US drone. Each event brought the countries closer to armed conflict. The killing of General Soleimani was the most serious escalation. Iran's response, missiles fired at US bases, was a stark warning that American actions would not go unanswered. Both sides used rhetoric and military moves to send messages. For many in the region, the risks were real and growing. American allies feared being caught in the crossfire, while Iran's neighbors worried about its unpredictable actions. Despite the tension, neither side wanted total war. The standoff settled into a tense stalemate, with each side testing the other's limits. The world watched closely, knowing that a single miscalculation could ignite a broader conflict. Section 6. Ripple effects in the Middle East. The US-Iran standoff under Trump had wide-ranging effects across the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates supported Trump's hard line, seeing Iran as a threat to their own interests. They welcomed tougher sanctions and closer ties with both Washington and Jerusalem, but the confrontation also fueled instability. In Iraq, US-Iran rivalry played out in deadly clashes. Proxy groups backed by Tehran increased attacks on American forces. Syria and Yemen became battlegrounds for wider regional competition. Israel, feeling emboldened by Trump's support, carried out more strikes against Iranian targets in Syria. The crisis also changed the map of alliances. The Abraham Accords, which saw Israel normalize relations with several Arab states, were partly a response to shared concerns about Iran. Old enemies found common cause in containing Tehran's influence. Yet, the pressure on Iran also hardened its stance. Tehran doubled down on its partnerships with Russia, China, and regional proxies. The Middle East became even more polarized, with new blocs and shifting allegiances defining the era. Section 7. Global reactions and international law. The world's response to Trump's Iran policy was deeply divided. European allies were alarmed by the US withdrawal from the JCPOA. Britain, France, and Germany tried to keep the deal alive, fearing a nuclear arms race in the region. They argued that diplomacy, not confrontation, was the best path. Russia and China, meanwhile, saw new openings. Both countries moved to deepen ties with Iran, offering diplomatic and economic support. They criticized US sanctions as a violation of international agreements. Global tensions increased as major powers lined up on different sides. International law became a battleground in its own right. The US argued that its actions were legal self-defense. Iran said US moves were acts of aggression. The killing of Soleimani sparked debate over targeted assassinations and the rules of war. The dispute revealed deeper rifts in the global order. Trump's America First approach clashed with multilateral norms. The fallout went beyond Iran, raising questions about the future of international cooperation and peace. Section 8. Policy impacts. Winners and losers. The Trump-Netanyahu alliance produced clear winners and losers. Israel and some Gulf states saw gains, closer US ties, more security cooperation, and stronger deterrence against Iran. The Abraham Accords reshaped regional politics, breaking old taboos about Arab-Israeli relations. Iran, on the other hand, faced severe economic hardship. Sanctions slashed oil revenues and fueled inflation. Yet, the regime survived, using nationalism and external threats to rally support. Ordinary Iranians paid a heavy price, with rising poverty and fewer opportunities. In the US, policy impacts were mixed. Trump's tough approach pleased some voters and key allies, but critics said it made the region less safe and undermined America's reputation as a mediator. The risk of accidental war remained high, and trust in American commitments fell. For the wider world, the lessons were sobering. Maximum pressure did not produce a clear solution. Instead, it highlighted the dangers of escalation and the limits of unilateral action. Section 9. Looking ahead. The future of US-Iran relations. As new leaders take office in Washington, Tehran, and Jerusalem, the future remains uncertain. The legacy of Trump and Netanyahu's alliance shapes today's choices. Some hope for renewed diplomacy, perhaps a return to the nuclear deal or new talks on regional security. But deep mistrust lingers. Each side fears being outmaneuvered or betrayed. The shadow of past confrontations makes compromise difficult. Regional actors, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, will play key roles in whatever comes next. The world's attention is likely to remain fixed on the US-Iran relationship. How these two powers interact will affect energy markets, arms control, and the prospects for peace or war in the Middle East. For now, the story is unfinished. The Trump-Netanyahu era showed how alliances can change the world, but also how hard it is to escape the cycle of suspicion and conflict. The sands continue to shift, and the next chapter is still to be written.